My girlfriend, 29 years old, Andrea, and I, 29 years old, have been together for a few months now. Everything had gone smoothly until yesterday, when she pulled off a ridiculous stunt. She called me late at night to say that she's seriously injured, having panic attacks, and that no one else is with her as her parents are out, which was true, they were out. She said that she's also experiencing some chest pain and she thinks that she's dying and that she's in a really bad state and can hardly breathe. She was heaving while she spoke. She begged me to help her, said that she's already called 911, but that she also wanted to let me know, and I was shocked. I took my car to rush towards her house, and it was only after reaching that I found out that she was joking about it. She met me joyfully and said that she only wanted to see how committed I am during an emergency, as that's an essential part of a relationship or something. I lost my temper and asked her what the frick her problem was. She said that she was just testing me, and I got pissed off. I called her a fucking witch and told her that I did not deserve to be treated like trash and made use of like that. She was crying by saying that she only wanted to check whether I am a good fit and that I overreacted. I left the house immediately and haven't talked to her since. She's been texting me, but I just ignored her. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Her test unfortunately proved not only that she can trust in and rely on you, it also proved that you absolutely cannot trust in or rely on her. Comment 2, not the idiot. Did you card her to make sure she's 29? This sounds like high school antics. She's not girlfriend material. She's immature and foolish. Comment 3, not the idiot. If she's testing you, then she doesn't trust you. If she doesn't trust you, then she shouldn't be in a relationship with you. Now for the update. After I stormed out that night, I spent a lot of time reflecting and talking to close friends about the whole ordeal. Everyone agreed that what she did was out of line, but a few pointed out that her intentions, although misguided, might have come from a place of insecurity rather than malice. I couldn't shake that thought, and it made me see things a bit differently. A few days later, she left a letter at my door. No texts, no calls, just a handwritten letter. In it, she poured out her heart, apologizing profusely and explaining her fears. She had been in a really bad relationship before where, in an actual crisis, her ex had bailed on her. It didn't excuse her actions, but it did explain where her head was at. She ended the letter saying she'd understand if I never wanted to see her again, but she hoped I could forgive her and at least let her apologize in person. That letter must have taken a lot out of her, because it was raw and vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen before. I took some time to process it all, and after a week, I agreed to meet up. She was a mess, just a bundle of nerves and apologies. Seeing her like that, the anger I'd been holding on to just sort of deflated. We had a long, deep conversation that day. It was tough, but it was real. We discussed boundaries, trust, and our pasts. It wasn't just her opening up. I found myself confronting some of my own issues too. It's not been an easy road, but we decided to give this another shot, taking it one day at a time. She started seeing a therapist to work through her insecurity and trust issues, and I've been learning how to communicate better and not shut down when things get rough. We've grown a lot as individuals and as a couple. Last weekend we volunteered together at a local charity event, and it felt good to be working as a team in a high-stress environment with no pranks, no tests, just us contributing to something bigger than ourselves. I won't say everything's perfect now, but we're in a much better place. That night could have been the end of us, but somehow it became a new beginning. Thanks to everyone who offered advice when I was lost in the thick of it. Sometimes the hardest experiences teach us the most valuable lessons. Now for the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. It takes a big person to look past the hurt and see the reason behind someone's actions. Your ability to forgive and work through issues together shows emotional maturity. Plus, volunteering together is a great way to bond and contribute positively to the community. Growth is a journey, and it sounds like you both are on the right path. Comment 2, you're the idiot. Pranks that cause emotional distress are a red flag, not a cry for help. They crossed a boundary, and while it's good to understand their motives, it doesn't excuse their actions. An apology doesn't erase the betrayal, and it's concerning that you're so quick to give them another chance. Be careful you're not justifying bad behavior because you're afraid of losing them. Comment 3, not the idiot. You turned a negative situation into a positive outcome. It's inspiring to see that you both took the opportunity to grow from this experience. The fact that you're volunteering together shows a commitment to not only your relationship, but also to making a difference. Keep that communication open and continue to support each other's individual growth. That's the foundation of a strong partnership. Now for the next story. I am 39 years old. I have a 13-year-old son who got into the wrong crowd at school. Trying to discipline him and get him away from this crowd resulted in him rebelling, running away, stealing, disrespecting my rules and me, and the list goes on. A couple of days ago, he and a friend decided to steal, and his friend got caught, but my son managed to run away. His friend gave him up and the police showed up at my house. My son was scared and begged me not to give him up. I let them in and told them where he was, and they spoke to him. Out of fear, he tried to fight them. He was quickly overpowered. I was alarmed but saw that they weren't really hurting him. He kept screaming for help and I didn't. They then arrested him and said they were taking him in, and he started crying. One cop stayed and said they would just take him into their station, but I could pick him up in about an hour when he calms down. Then they left. I picked him up when they rang me. He was very quiet, didn't speak to me, just went straight into his room. He hasn't spoken to me since. That night, I got a call from my ex-in-laws screaming at me for letting him go through all that and that. I've scarred him, and that he's traumatized, and what kind of mother does that to their child? They've been consistently belittling me ever since and threatening to get custody of him. Now I'm starting to feel guilty. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your son was given up by his friend. The cops knew exactly where he was. Even if you didn't allow them in, the cops would have been back. There is no running from this. The son has to face the consequences. Breaking the law should be scary. He needed to learn that there is consequences for his actions, and his father should step up and be a parent. However, I would make sure you get a lawyer, especially depending on the cost, and defend him that way, not the idiot. Comment 2. Not offering a judgment, but just be aware that from your kid's point of view, he's going to see you as someone who's not going to help him when he's scared and confused. Get him some therapy quickly if you can, and try to talk to him about why you thought him getting detained was best for him. Comment 3. There's no conflict here. He committed a crime. When the police showed up, he attacked them. You never really had a say in whether or not they were taking him. Now for the update. It's been a month since I turned over my son to the police, and the situation has only gotten worse. The fallout has been heartbreaking. After that incident, my son's behaviour took a nosedive. He's become more withdrawn, and I've caught him sneaking out of the house at night. I installed extra locks, but he somehow manages to get out anyway. Last week I received a call from the school. He'd been caught vandalising school property. It was nothing major, just spray paint, but it was the last straw for them. They've suspended him and now he's facing possible expulsion. It's like he's trying to live up to this image that he thinks his friends expect of him. It's tearing me apart seeing him throw his future away. I tried to reach out to my ex-in-laws again, hoping we could present a united front for our son's sake, but they've filed for emergency custody. They claim I've failed as a parent, and frankly, I'm starting to believe it myself. I'm fighting it, of course, but it's a mess and the legal fees are mounting. The look in my son's eyes when I mention the custody battle, it's a mix of hurt and betrayal. He won't talk to me about it or about anything really. The only conversations we have are him yelling that he hates me or that he wants to live with his grandparents. I'm at my wit's end. I've scheduled appointments with therapists for both of us, but he refuses to go. I don't know how to get through to him, how to make him understand that I'm doing all this because I love him, not because I want to control him or ruin his life. The guilt is eating me alive. Maybe I did handle it all wrong. Maybe I should have protected him from the police. But then what lesson would that have taught him? I'm just so lost, and it feels like I'm watching my son slip through my fingers, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Now for the comments, comment 1, not the idiot, you did what you thought was right at the time by involving the police. It's tough love, but sometimes that's necessary to set a child on the right path. The grandparents are overstepping by trying to gain custody. Stick to your guns and keep encouraging therapy. It's a good move. It may take time, but your son might come to understand why you did what you did. Comment 2, you're the idiot. Turning your son over to the police was an extreme step that seems to have backfired. You escalated the situation instead of dealing with it at home, and now he's acting out more. It's clear that he needs support and understanding, not the police. Now that the grandparents are involved, it's going to be even harder to mend fences with your son. Comment 3, not the idiot. It's clear you're trying your best in a difficult situation. Therapy is a great step, and it's not your fault that your son is refusing to go. Sometimes consequences are necessary for actions like vandalism. Your ex-in-laws are not in the right for blindsiding you with a custody battle. Keep pushing for what's best for your son, even if he doesn't see it yet. Now, for the next story. Over the past 3 months, my husband's sister has been staying with us until she got back on her feet. As part of her contribution to our household, she generously offered to babysit our kids, including our 3-year-old son with autism and with both delayed speech and language, without expecting any compensation. However, about 3 weeks ago while she was babysitting, our son managed to slip out of the front door without her awareness, wandering around for approximately half an hour before a concerned individual alerted the police. Rather than immediately notifying my husband and me about the situation, she spent an hour searching the neighbourhood before involving law enforcement. We only became aware of our son's disappearance after she had already found out that the police had picked him up and safely returned him home. There's uncertainty regarding whether she would have informed us if the police had not explicitly instructed her to do so. In the aftermath, I asked her to leave our home. My husband believes that my decision to kick her out was overly severe, labelling it as an honest mistake that could happen to anyone. He also emphasises her lack of alternative living arrangements, arguing that it was unjust to leave her with nowhere else to go. She put my son's safety at risk and broke my trust, and I can't get over that, but I can't shake what my husband said. Now I feel terrible about putting her on the street. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Drowning is the #1 cause of death for autistic children. Your son eloped. Her first call should have been to you to find out if there was any place he was known to go so she could check there first while she was waiting for you and the police. Comment 2. What was she doing for that first 30 minutes while your son wandered off? Was she with your other kids? It is super weird that you and/or your husband weren't told this sooner and that she waited another hour to call the police. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Sure, anyone could have let the kids slip out the door. That could happen to anyone. The problem is that she didn't alert you immediately. You should have been called the minute she couldn't find him. Now for the update. Since my last post, things have escalated dramatically. After asking my sister-in-law to leave, she found a place with a friend and took off the same day. I thought that would be the end of it, but it was just the beginning. 2 days later, my husband and I were visited by a social worker. My sister-in-law, in a surprising turn of events, had reported us to CPS, claiming we were negligent parents. She twisted the story, suggesting that her moving out was due to her concerns about our son's well-being and not because of the incident where he wandered off. The investigation was intrusive and nerve-wracking, but ultimately they found no evidence of neglect and closed the case. Our relationship with my sister-in-law is obviously in shreds. My husband, who was initially upset with me for asking her to leave, is now livid with her for making the false report and putting our family through such stress. He has cut off all communication with her, and we're currently looking into legal options for dealing with the false accusations. In a bizarre twist, my sister-in-law's friend contacted us a week after the CPS ordeal, apologising profusely. Apparently my sister-in-law had been spinning tales, and once her friend saw the truth of the matter, she kicked sister-in-law out too. My sister-in-law is now staying at a local shelter and has tried to reach out to us for forgiveness, but we're keeping our distance for the time being. As for our son, the incident has affected him more than we realised. His routines were disrupted, and he's been having more meltdowns. We've had to increase his therapy sessions to help him cope with the changes. It's been a harrowing 2 weeks. Just when I thought we had faced the worst, it seems the fallout was just beginning. We're just trying to hold our little family together and move forward from this whole mess. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your sister-in-law crossed a major line by falsely reporting you to CPS, causing unnecessary stress for your family and son. Protecting your family's well-being is your top priority, and keeping distance is a reasonable response to such a breach of trust. It's sad she's at a shelter, but her actions have consequences, and you're not obligated to forgive just because she's in a tough spot now. Comment 2. You're the idiot for not showing a bit of compassion. Yes, your sister-in-law made a huge mistake, but people deserve second chances. She's already facing the repercussions of her actions by losing her home and friends' support. Maybe your son's disrupted routines could benefit from the healing that comes with forgiveness. It's tough, but family is family, and sometimes you need to be the bigger person for everyone's sake. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Your focus is on your son's well-being, and that's commendable. Having your parenting questioned by CPS is traumatic, and it's no surprise it's led to more therapy sessions for your son. You're not required to welcome someone back into your life who has caused such turmoil, especially when your child's stability is at stake. Your sister-in-law's situation is unfortunate, but she needs to understand actions have consequences. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.